I think only in these past couple of years have I gained the ability empathy, and I'm very ashamed to admit that. It sounds really pathetic to say at the age of 32 I've acquired empathy.
Do you want to join Zoe's Pose Squad? No, I never wanted to join Zoe's Pose Squad. Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, if you can. I just want to ask you if you've always been shitting your pants.
can't wait for them to blame us for their failed event. Don't worry, Ela. I'm not going to blame you guys for anything Creator Clash related. I know you're terrified of taking accountability for anything, so that will rest solely on my shoulders.
For CC2, like before he was supposed to start training for his fight camp, right? But then they didn't come and train, and then she decided that she was gonna have her tits removed, like during his fight camp.
Oh, that was the second one.
An adult bitch? Sorry about that. Ooh, sorry about that. That was fucked up. Sorry about that. You know, but you went from child bride to adult. Piece of shit.
Alright, I have no idea how to intro this video, so I'm just gonna get right to it. I have no idea what's up with Ian and Anisa. They somehow seem to have lost the plot. Well, I mean they seem to have lost the plot more than they normally have. And it all started from the content cop on H3, which I will cover in a future video. Although the only thing I will say about it right now is that to all the people going, "Oh, Ian just needs to go back to his old content, it'll be Boehner, man," they're real silent now. He also did an interview with Noah Sampson, which gave birth to the infamous clip of Ian saying that the skulls being sent to Ethan's house was funny.
One last question. Did you send the skulls? What is your opinion on the skulls, and did you send them?
I didn't send the skulls. I don't know. I thought the skulls thing was kind of humorous to hear that.
Yeah, apparently Ian thinks sending skulls to someone's house is funny. That is the worst possible answer anyone could have given in that situation. And Idubbbz ran face first into that. Hey, can anyone tell me what's the subtle humor behind this? Please explain. But anyways, thanks Mr. Empathy for your thoughts.
I just can't help myself but feel for other people's pain and suffering now. I'm still not perfect. I think that is my empathy meter's only maybe a quarter of the way filled up potentially, but it's at least there.
1/4 of an empathy meter at 32 is rough, buddy. Although in Ian's self-defense, he's an underage 32-year-old, so he still has time to grow and mature. Just take a look at how he's matured, playing with Thanos toys. Hallmark of maturity. It's so funny how Idubbbz' definition of maturity basically boils down to, "Don't say no mean word slur anymore." Ironically, this is a really shallow worldview of what maturity is. It's like how a child would understand maturity. Yeah, I no longer say heckin' no words. I'm a grown-up now. Maturity is so much more than that. What about the self-reflection? What about the thoughtful decision-making? But hey, at least Ian uses big boy words now. I'm also gonna pre-EP the H3 Snark talking points about the skulls here.
Especially when I heard that they were from skulls.com or some shit like that. That made it funny.
Yeah.
No, just because they were from skulls.com does not somehow make it okay to send skulls to someone's house. Especially when they've had CPS called to their house around the same time. I don't even know how you would rationalize that. "Oh, teehee, it's just a prank!" You just got pranked, bruh. Gone sexual. I bet that if Hassan got those skulls instead, these H3 snarkers would be moral effing over this so hard. I've also seen snarkers schizo posting saying how Ethan actually sent the skulls himself. Yeah, please go be cancer somewhere else. They can't actually prove how it's true and they just spam it because as we all know, if you say something enough times then it becomes true. There's no way that Ethan could send the skulls to himself for the simple reason of there's no way that he could reliably hide that. I mean sure, he could pay off his workers and make them say that he didn't send it, and they're not going to be working for him forever. Sooner or later the mask is going to slip. There's no way that Ethan could keep this under wraps if he sent the skulls to himself. The mental gymnastics at play here is insane. Also, that talking point reminds me of that one meme where a Jewish person is spray painting the swastika onto a synagogue. Real interesting how H3 Snark talking points mirror far-right rhetoric. Oh, but let me guess, you guys are actually anti-Zionist. I mean sure, Ethan's only crimes are disavowing the Israeli government and not fully supporting your God Emperor streamer Hassan. So we're gonna psychotically lash out at you because you're not Hassan's mirror. These snarkers are not firing on all cylinders. There's also Creator Clash 3, which is in a gutter right now, with multiple drop fighters, including Harley Morenstein, who is supposed to be the star of the show, and Lena, who is a worker in the H3H3 podcast. Wonder why she dropped out of Creator Clash. Then shortly after that, LA Beast and Freddie Wong also dropped out of the event. Guess they weren't too keen on having a boxing charity event be center stage for a global conflict across the world. And of course, who could forget about Ian and Anisa, who stopped hosting the event and dropped out, but not before everyone found out about that little 34% cut they had. Which, to be frank, even if we assume that they didn't try and money launder through Creator Clash, still looks pretty bad that they're taking such a massive cut from a charity event. Imagine if Ian just waited until Creator Clash 3 was over before dropping his content nuke on Ethan. You knew full well that Ian thought his video was going to be a sweep. Instead, he's bogged down in a forever war with Ethan and nuked his charity boxing event because of it. But all the combined pressure between Creator Clash and internet backlash from the botched content cop must have gotten to both Ian and Anisa, because they started to fire back at people. Look out, everyone! Ian and Anisa are on their YN Gangsta crash out arcs. Their first target was Ethan. Anisa and Ian had enough of Ethan sending potshots at them on Instagram, even though they fired the opening salvo with that content cop. So they decided to fight back on X. I mean Twitter, the everything app. Their main comeback is basically called H3H3 an incel. Oh, Ethan is the king of incels. He wants that incel audience bad. Oh, Ethan is just on that alt-right incel pipeline. Incel, alt-right pipeline, crypto. Yeah, guys, the dude with 3 kids is for sure an involuntary celibate. For sure, man. And them Jewish people are well known for being part of the alt-right pipeline. You sure showed them. But let me guess, incel and alt-right pipeline can be redefined as anyone who disagrees with you guys. Oh no, people are shit-talking us. It's clearly because they are incel alt-righters and not the fact that we suck. You guys have been using this talking point ever since Anisa made her OnlyFans. Be more original. Also, it's super funny seeing how both Ian and Anisa try and use incel as an insult, considering how, you know, Anisa has an OnlyFans. I got a quick question for you guys. What type of person do you think is buying an OnlyFans subscription? The everyday dude working a job and living life? Or the lonely incel who is desperate to get some? I wonder. Truly a difficult choice. I'll give you guys a little hint. It's the incel. Imagine being so desperate for an own that you end up insulting the very same people that would subscribe to your OnlyFans. Friendly fire will not be tolerated. Ban Anisa and Ian for team killing ASAP. Anisa also had another comment asking why Ethan was so sexually invested in us after he revealed that Ian's first sexual partner was Anisa. What Anisa fails to account for, and rather conveniently leaves out, is that Ethan only drops this bombshell after Ian says that sending skulls to his house was funny. Yeah guys, sending skulls to people's houses is definitely funny. Thanks Mr. Empathy for your thoughts. You're surprised that after Ian said that Ethan being harassed IRL was funny, Ethan decided to pull out the big guns? Crybully much? You would think Anisa would be understanding as to why sending skulls to someone's house is fucked, considering how, you know, she was afraid that Sam Hyde was gonna kill her during Creator Clash 2. But I guess empathy for me, not for thee.
Like, so. It was the craziest thing because Anisa said to me, she's like, Kate, you don't understand. Ian and I both believe that Sam Hyde would really come and find me and would actually murder me. So that's the reason why we have to take all these precautions.
It's kind of funny finding out that Anisa was Ian's first, considering how that explains so much. Normally that wouldn't be a big deal, but it honestly explains so much as to why Ian changed over the years. You know full well the moment Ian's penis touched Anisa's vagina, it completely changed him, as he vowed never to say another slur again. Bro fell down from Chudtopia heaven. Bro got a whiff of that vajayjay and instantly said, we need to think of how socioeconomic factors affect blacks. Additionally, Anisa saying how Ethan is sexually invested in us is crazy work, considering how she has no issue spilling out very personal and intimate details about herself, and Ian, but mainly Ian. For starters, according to this loser here, who is very sexually invested in Anisa, apparently Anisa can't come unless she's on top grinding. What an incel freak being so sexually invested in Anisa's sex life. Oh wait, that's her alt account. Awkward! Or what about the time where she just casually mentions how Ian shits himself all the time, right out of the blue?
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, if you can.
Well, if you can. I just want to
Yeah,
ask
if
him
you
if you've always been shitting your pants.
Yeah, you guys know my husband. The supposed love of my life till death do us part. Well, he shits himself, lol. But don't worry, Anisa is going to do the shittiest damage control afterwards and say that shit pant is actually some newfangled lingo that the youngins use. Apparently, shit pant is just slang for having stomach issues, which is just factually untrue. Shit pants means you shit your pants. Fairly straightforward. Do you guys think that Ian and Anisa secretly get off to revealing embarrassing stuff about themselves? Hey, what about that time when you openly admitted on your podcast that you've tried to peg Ian?
You know how there was like that video? It was like a picture or a video of Keemstar like sucking a guy off.
Oh no, he's riding on a railroad on the dildo on the railroad. I love that video.
What if a video came out where the guy looked like Ian? Like so much like Ian that you actually did question if it was him. I mean, like you asked him and be like, "Oh my god, this guy looks like you," and he's like, "Oh yeah, that does look like me." Weird.
I'm gonna be honest with you. Ian's not into any of that shit. I've tried, but I've had exes.
Are you only mad at Ethan because he spilled a deep sex secret about Ian before you could? I don't know why you would lie about something so easily disprovable, but keep this in mind, as Anisa lying about stuff is going to be a recurring issue that I talk about later on. Overall though, seeing Anisa openly talking about the very intimate and personal details of her and Ian's life makes me feel like I broke into their place of residence and read through their personal diaries. I feel like I've seen things I shouldn't. I feel dirty, like some sort of humiliation kink that we're all unwilling participants in. Moving on though, Ethan wasn't the only person who Anisa and Ian stopped being friends with. Recently, a YouTuber called Donut Operator revealed that Ian, or Idubbbz, stopped being friends with him. Now, you may be asking, what did this Donut Operator do to lose the privilege of being an Idubbbz friend? Did he walk up to a woman and call her the N-word? Hard R? Did he hang out with Sam Hyde? If you guessed that Donut Operator made an OnlyFans, ding ding ding, congrats to you! So Donut Operator made an OnlyFans where he showed his meat, but it wasn't his actual penis, instead it was steak. When he showed it to Ian though, Ian got all pissy and said that he was making fun of Anisa, even though OnlyFans was a really big meme thing to joke about with people at the time.
Funny, so I'd be wearing like just an apron. Of course, I'm wearing like boxers underneath. And I'd reach down and be like, "This is my OnlyFans," and this is an A5 Wagyu from down the street, and I would talk about it. And I sent it to Ian, and he got mad and called me and like said I was making fun of Anisa, and like I wasn't. I just thought it was a funny bit because I was sitting at home during COVID and just like haven't talked to him since. That was like 5 years ago.
Over that?
Yeah, and I've like texted him and tried to reconnect with him. He just won't talk to me anymore.
Not everything revolves around Anisa, contrary to your belief. She's not the main character, which I will of course talk about later on. Also, even if Donut Operator did, I thought it was fine if people joked about Anisa having an OnlyFans. Isn't that what you said? Or was that just a lie?
A good amount of people are just doing the reasonable thing and just making jokes and laughing about it.
Then Idubbbz somehow gets the courage to respond like he hasn't been the internet's punching bag for the last few years. Mr. Small Barking Dog over here saying how Donut Operator conveniently left out that Donut's Den GF was pursuing OnlyFans and how he was a coward for making a meme OnlyFans. How does that even make any sense? So Donut Operator is somehow a coward because he made a parody account. He made his for the fun of it and somehow he's a coward? You do realize that you can make an OnlyFans and not have it be sexual, right? I mean sure, most people don't use it for that, but it is possible. Also notice how originally Ian got pissy at Donut Operator for making his OnlyFans to mock Anisa, and now Donut Operator is a coward. Nice goalpost shift. But you know, maybe Ian has a point. Let's see how he handles his wife's OnlyFans. Oh, look at that. It's him saying it's fine to meme on Anisa for having an OnlyFans, even though that's what he dropped Donut Operator for, when he thought Donut was making a joke about Anisa's OnlyFans.
A good amount of people are just doing the reasonable thing and just making jokes and laughing about it.
Oh, look at that. It's Ian making a dig at a 15-year-old.
First up, we got Edward. he probably got told by a lot of people that he looks like Idubbbz. And he really liked that because Idubbbz was cool. But now that Idubbbz is a simp, now he's going to go in full baby Wawa mode.
Very Leafy-esque of him. Bro got one man by a squeaker. Oh look, it's Ian saying how an OnlyFans is okay because people can see your girl in the street and beat it to her later.
You do realize there are guys out there in private right now jacking off to your girlfriend. But I guess it's out of sight, out of mind, it's not a problem.
Oh look, it's Ian saying how sex work doesn't affect future job prospects. Which is blatantly not true.
And then future jobs, they might be a little bit harder to come by.
I think this is one of the most important opinions to highlight because it really demonstrates a severe lack of real-world experience when you're saying that future jobs are going to be harder to come by because of an OnlyFans account.
Oh look, it's Ian saying how he's fine with people beating off to pictures of Anisa while being beat red.
That pretty much wraps up this video. I love my girlfriend, and I'm totally fine with dudes jacking off to pictures of her on the internet.
Take notes, donut operator. This is how you're supposed to deal with your significant other having an OnlyFans. You're supposed to get emotionally tilted and lie about being fine with people beating it to your girl. I mean, sure, if you want to say Donut is cucked for his ex-GF's OnlyFans, and by extension Idubbbz, that's a you thing, but he handled it far better than Ian could ever hope to match. Also, it's rich that you call someone else a pussy when a fake CPS call against Ethan occurred, and you couldn't even come out and say that Ethan doesn't let his kids vacuum shit into their mouths, and instead ran to Hassan & Co. for your content cop. All you had to do was say, hey, I'm not going to comment on a geopolitical situation, but in regards to Ethan and his kids, the house is clean and he treats them well. This CPS call is in bad faith. You can disagree with Ethan and not have to resort to making false CPS claims. You couldn't even do that simple task. Instead saying how Ethan should just try and ignore the hate.
The last thing somebody who's going through something like that needs is more eyes on it. And more like people weighing in. Right? And like that's why I'm kind of angry that we even have to like talk about it here. Is that like whether or not people who are in it right now realize it on any side, the more people who weigh in, the more people who add to the conversation, the more people who amplify it, the worse that it gets. We were in it. And at the time when we were in it and we wanted...
She's referring to us kind of going through a fucking hard time on the internet, being harassed, videos made about us, people weighing in.
People still make videos about us. And at the time, before like we got help, before we went to therapy, like, yes, there was this attitude of like, why the fuck aren't people saying things? Why the fuck is no one like saying how wrong this is? Like, of course we had anger about that. When you get the help, and you realize that this is like something that you cannot control at all, and it doesn't have to affect your life, that's the only way it gets better.
Yeah.
Ignoring the haters doesn't really work when you and your family are being fucked with IRL. You can't really drown that out. You guys are used to just ignoring things because your arguments suck so people can actually form counter-arguments for them. It gets better though, because in the replies, Anisa drops a bomb that apparently Donut took them to a gun show where a child got a hold of a gun and fired it, and there was very little reaction aside from saying ND. Okay, and how is that Donut operator's fault? He didn't know that negligent discharge was going to happen from the kid. That vendor should have been watching their stuff better. You're acting like Donut operator handed that kid the gun. Guilt by association, hella cringe. But unsurprisingly, turns out Anisa was lying again. Some dude called Brendan pointed out how it was actually a shooting range, and not a gun show, which recontextualizes the kid misfiring it, if it was at a place where we're supposed to shoot guns and the kid fucked it up. Still not ideal, don't get me wrong, but better than a gun show. Anisa also preemptively blocked him so that he couldn't respond to her directly, which is very telling. If Anissa's right, why does she feel the need to attempt to hide the truth? That tweet pissed Anisa off though, so this leads Anisa to start ranting about how gunheads are, actually, debate bros, while reconfirming that it was indeed at a gun range. So basically Anisa lied again in order to try and make her and Ian look better. I guess the only person who's allowed to say embarrassing stuff about Ian is her. The vendor still sounds like a dumbass because it's so negligent discharge, but I did hear he got booted out after, which is good. But I don't understand how Anisa could try and turn this around on Donut Operator. How is this Donut's fault? You're acting like he was the person who did the negligent discharge. You're acting like he mind controlled that child into shooting the gun. To give Anisa her only point in this drama though, I think her reasoning for being put off to gun culture is stupid, but it's understandable if she got put off to gun culture because of that. People will always hate stuff over petty reasons, but trying to tie that into donut operator is stupid and makes you look petty. But notice how this is the second time recently that she's lied about things in a pitiful attempt to make her and Idubbbz look better. Which brings me right into the next segment. Before we officially kick off the Anisa segment, I just want to get this statement out of the way. I've seen a lot of people maintain the position that it's all Anisa's fault that Ian switched up and became lame. It's that darn Yoko Ono's fault. And I just gotta say, if you still think that, you need to stop puffing that nostalgia gas and snap back to reality. Sure, if you want to argue that Anisa has had a major impact on Ian's life, I'm not exactly disagreeing with the idea because that is true. Anisa has definitely changed Ian a lot. You can't really argue against that even if you are still an Idubbbz fan. Don't know why you're still watching, but you do you, man. At the same time, we can't be handing off all the blame to Anisa. Sooner or later, people are just gonna have to realize that maybe Ian has always sucked. He's just managed to hide it better by being more confident before. If you don't believe me, just look at any of Ian's drama videos pre-OnlyFans video and then post-OnlyFans video. And the difference will be clear as night and day. Ian needs to take some personal accountability for the way he is. Anisa can't shoulder all the blame. They both dragged each other down. But enough about Idubbbz. Everyone is well familiar of his story. The bigger question right now is, now that I got that out of the way, who is Anisa? Anisa is a very strong and independent girl boss who can do no wrong. A true goddess among mortals. Okay, enough joking. Let me tell you a little story. Aside from her being formerly known as Rainbow Kids and playing League, before she met Idubbbz, she started off as a Chris Ray Gun / Leafy is Here simp fangirl who couldn't get enough of them, only to be turned away by both because Chris had Lacey Green at the time and Leafy is, well, Leafy. She had a boyfriend, but she broke up with him in order to be with Idubbbz in order to clout chase. She also has a wide range of skills such as artist, good trainer, expert boxer, never fought in career clash though, kinesiology, police officer with trained gun experience even though she can't stand gun culture, and to top it off she got raised by a crime family. Apparently she was straight trapping in the streets. You guys think she got raised mafia or YN style? Based on all of these outstanding qualifications, it seems she is quite skilled in life. Not a talent she can't master. You know how people say jack of all trades, master of none? Well, she's master of all trades, jack of none, which only makes her decision to do OnlyFans all the more perplexing. Also, just to let you know, posting OnlyFans content on your wedding day is diabolical. That's crazy. I hope I don't need to explain why. Especially considering how she has had no issues shaming other sex workers, right till she became one herself. Rather convenient, wouldn't you say?
Didn't you want to join Zoe's Ho Squad? No, I never wanted to. I never wanted to join Zoe's Ho Squad.
No, I don't want to join Zoe's Ho Squad. Even though there are messages where she's trying to link up with Zoe and Celestia.
You were supposed to come and hang out with me and Celestia. After you begged Celestia, I have the Skype screenshots. You begged her to come hang out with me. I didn't know her or you, but she pulled you a favor so that you could come hang out with us. I said yes because why not? The more the merrier.
Apparently when they twerk and show ass, it's problematic. But when Anisa does it, it's empowering. Apparently this belief is in no small part because of Idubbbz.
You back out because Idubbbz tells you it's a bad idea to associate with me. Then you proceed to go on for the next couple of weeks and tweet about me every now and then, talking crap.
Although I'm sure Mr. Sexwork Empathy did not tell Anisa to say Zoe's Ho Squad, or for Anisa to make additional jabs at Zoe on Twitter. All because Anisa got jealous of the attention Zoe and Celestia were getting and tried to one-up them. The point I'm making is that Anisa is a hypocrite and Ian only cares about sex work because his darling wife got into it. The main thing I've noticed when doing research on Anisa is that she seems to be very insecure about herself. If you dig into her past, she has a long history of being insecure, which results in her lashing out and trying to overcompensate with a massive superiority complex that is reminiscent of a teenage girl's, except she's a 32-year-old.
I'm glad I finally became more able to film/take pictures of my body. I feel like a weight so much of my life worrying about what other people are social media. I was so pleased to find myself. I had no idea what I think I'm so pride.
Yeah, you definitely seem happy with yourself. We can tell with how hard you project. You are so happy and secure with yourself that you tried to skinwalk one of Ian's fans, even going so far as to copy their hairstyle and makeup, not just clothing. Absolutely fucking weird behavior. You definitely aren't a crazy cat lady in the works. You wanna know why she was skinwalking so hard? Because Ian was liking her tweets. That's literally it. Ian found someone funny on Twitter and Anissa's first reaction was to try and skinwalk them. Granted, the tweet that Ian liked about his fan wanting to marry him is a bit too much and weird, in my opinion, but you don't dial up the psychopathy meter to 11 and skinwalk her. Or how about when you were trashing on Tana Mongoose and convinced Ian to make a content cop on her? Did you also give him the idea to drop the hard R at her convention? Or how about all the other times where you would shit talk people for little to no reason? I already talked about Zoe and Celestia, but I could keep going on and on. Like how you were all buddy-buddy with Sky Williams, only to talk some vile shit behind his back, which he explains in detail in a now unlisted video on his channel. The crazy part too is that this man was defending you. He would step up to bat when people were trashing on you. He stuck his neck out for you and you chose to chop it off. You drove this man to literal tears.
I'm not sure if his girlfriend had anything to do with it. Hey look, hands are clean of it, used to be friends with her. I found out someone showed me like hella stream highlights of her talking the meanest shit to me. And I didn't know because I'm on Twitter defending her, right? Saw that shit. Then I cried to her in DMs. And no, I was drunk and I literally cried. I'm sobbing to her.
I'm gonna react on this head on. I want to be better. So I constantly ask for help. And I'm going to be better. I've heard you tonight. Everything you said made so much sense. And I just, no matter what, I want you to know that I'm learning, I'm listening, and I'm going to be better. That's it. That's it. I'm fine. I'm gonna take my sleeping meds and I'm just gonna go to sleep and I'm gonna just keep working and just pray to God that, this all doesn't blow up in my face.
And she's like, oh, well, I just thought she was a tool, but now, mwah. And then she talking shit 2 weeks later, nigga. And then I said, nah, I ain't gonna cry in your DMs again, bitch.
He gave you his soul, only for you to spit back and drive a knife into him. Even going so far as to call him a valuable piece of shit in a now deleted stream. And that's not even talking about all the other deleted streams where you would shit talk him. 8 minutes of straight trash talk on a person that defended you is crazy work. Who needs enemies when you've got Anisa Jomha? What a double timing two-faced backstabber. But honestly, I'm not surprised. She is also a known clout chaser, like how she outright admits that she doesn't unfollow people just because they are very popular. Guys, you don't understand, hacking internet numbers are life, man. She is also very materialistic and vain. Apparently she would have conversations with her mom where she would talk about how she deserved to be with a millionaire. Now, I ain't saying she a gold digger, but she ain't messing with no broke nit, considering how she is a known clout chaser. Like how she outright admits here that she doesn't unfollow people just because they are very popular.
Or I've been scrolling through my own Twitter feed, and I'll read something, and I'll be like, fuck, I need to unfollow this guy. And then I'll go to his page, and then it says 400k followers, and then it says, Sky follows you. And my inner piece of shit goes, this is an important human being. I shouldn't unfollow him.
Guys, you don't understand. Social clout is the only thing that matters. Which is why I pretend to be buddy-buddy with people only to trash on them later. Thanks for being so transparently obvious about your social climbing. She's also very materialistic and entitled. Like how she told her mom that she still married somebody rich. Apparently they had a little pact that she would marry someone rich and of the same religion as Anissa.
She even told us, she used to always tell her mom, I'm going to be with a millionaire. And so we think that once she
used to tell her mom that she would be with a millionaire? How do you know that?
Her mom told her that it had to be someone rich.
How did you know that?
Well, she told
She
us.
would tell us that.
It was, I remember exactly. It was when we were in Vegas going to the other podcast, and we were inside the Uber, and we were with Ian and Anisa. And Anisa said that like her mom only had two expectations for her to marry someone that was rich and also to be of her religion, right? And so she said that Anisa goes, well, I mean, I didn't get someone that was of my religion, but at least I got one part of it right. He's rich. And then she like laughed about it, and then he was in the car, and you could tell he was bothered by it.
Now, I ain't saying she a gold digger, but she ain't messing with no broke nit. This entitled way of thinking also means that she naturally has a very self-centered and main character syndrome view of herself. Woman tells a story of how she was groomed at 13 by a 27-year-old. Well, here comes Anisa, groomed at 18 by a philosophy major that is 31 years old. Really? An 18-year-old being groomed? I mean, don't get me wrong, this dude, assuming this story is actually real, sounds like a real creep, but you're still an adult. You weren't groomed into anything. Well, now that I think about it, he was an underage 31-year-old, so sorry Anisa, but you're the groomer pedophile here. What about when you took the opportunity to link a rape allegation to people who memed on you for having an OnlyFans? Yeah, those two scenarios are definitely very comparable. Congrats. Apparently, you are unable to talk about X topic if Y topic also exists. But anything to get people off your back for having an OnlyFans, I guess. For crying out loud, she even boasted about having an abnormally strong heart one time. What the fuck is this shit, man? And this would just be saying anything that comes to mind. What level of ego is this? She also can't help but lie constantly, just like Ian, but this isn't about him. I don't know if it's a compulsive itch or something, but she can't help it. We've already seen this recently with the donut operator drama, but it should not surprise you to hear that she has a history of lying to try and make herself look better. A key example is how she gushes over wanting to be a police officer, only to then switch up and blame Daddy Dearest for her poor career choice.
Yeah, before I was a student at the University of Alberta, I actually was in policing. I wanted to be a police officer for a very long period of time. I really believed that being a social worker on the streets was what I was made for. Yeah, I do. Do not sign up for something that you do not want to do. My parents were like, well, too bad you don't know what you want to do. You're going to go into something. And they pushed me into policing, and it got me nothing. It was a giant waste of time.
Wait, hold on. Didn't you say that your father didn't want you to be a police officer?
Being a social worker on the streets was what I was made for. But my father really didn't want me to be a police officer, so that dream quickly ended.
Nice history revision. Or how she pretends to be pro-sex work despite previously shitting on other sex workers. But you know what they say, no one hates women like, well, other women. One more example is her claiming that she did sports growing up, despite her saying that she was anorexic and she had no energy to do anything aside from school.
Yeah, she did sports growing up, so
Yeah,
like
hockey and lacrosse
and everything.
I was sleeping at 6 p.m. and waking up at, 8 a.m. to go to school, and that was my life. I had no life outside of school because I couldn't stay awake.
Also, apparently she's a longtime powerlifter despite having no muscle to show for it. Okay man, whatever you say, and I'm an Olympic gold medalist. Her relationship with Ian is also really strange. I don't want to play armchair psychologist and say that she's like a psychopathic emotional manipulator, but there's a ton of weird things that she's done over the years with Ian that makes me question a lot of stuff. She seems to enjoy trashing on him at any opportunity available. We all know she only married him because he was a millionaire, and of course the infamous "you've always been shitting yourself" clip. But did you guys also know of this super old image compilation of where she was repeatedly bashing him? She also made him take her last name because his last name apparently sounded ugly.
The only reason why we chose my name over his last name is because his last name is like just objectively ugly. It's just like an ugly last name. Like Washburn sounds horrendous.
Who says that to the love of their life? If you don't like his last name and want to keep yours, that's one thing. But to make him drop his last name for you is just insane cucked behavior. I'm sorry. The crazy part too is that Ian's old last name was Washburn, which doesn't even sound bad. It's a fine last name, and Anisa made a way bigger deal out of it than it should be. It just seems like she holds a certain level of contempt for Ian, and if it wasn't for the money, she would have dropped him like a sack of bricks. But come on guys, I'm sure that Anisa has had time to grow and mature, especially after being married to Mr. Empathy. I mean, sure, she's had a long line of terrible behavior that spans even to recent times, but guys, she's a changed person. Just like Joseph Mengele. I mean, Anissa seems to think so at least.
As terrible as the Holocaust was, obviously it was horrendous, and how disgusting the doctor was that did the experiments on people. They found a couple of really groundbreaking discoveries through that experimentation.
What did Joseph do? Let's take a little gander, shall we? We've got testing methods of mass sterilization, deliberately wounding or infecting prisoners in order to see their reactions, conducting unnecessary surgeries on patients, which includes amputation, and of course who could forget murdering and dissecting prisoners for more medical research. He was so infamous that the prisoners at Auschwitz would refer to him as the Angel of Death, which I am sure is self-explanatory. But hey, at least his research subjects were better fed and housed than the other prisoners, and temporarily spared from the gas chambers. Not to mention that he would give the children candy, before also sending them to be killed. So you know what, maybe this Joseph fella wasn't all that bad. There's always a silver lining, you know? But what if I told you that this isn't the first time that Anissa has said something anti-Semitic? Anti-Zionist. So it's well known that Anissa and Ethan have tons of beef at this point. And while Ethan was in a debate with Hassan, Anissa decided to take some pot shots at Ethan by saying drugs, implying that Ethan was on drugs, when everybody knows at this point the only reason why he sniffles like that is because of his Tourette's. It's really funny that the person who's married to Mr. Empathy finds the time and energy to mock other people's disabilities. If you want to shit on someone's disabilities and be ableist, okay, but I never want to hear this person moral F about any disability topic ever again. But the more pressing tweet she had during that debate that relates directly to the anti-Zionist talking point. The tweet in question was her saying inbred, which obviously sounds like inbred, basically implying that there is something incestual going on with Ethan. Now, Anissa claims that she only tweeted it out because Hassan kept saying inbred over and over, and it just sounded like inbred, when pressed on whether or not she called Ethan inbred. But I find that hard to believe considering how her other subtweet, drugs, was a direct reference to Ethan, which she does admit, which makes her defending the inbred tweet seem really forced and fake. Coupled with the fact I've already documented extensively how she is a known liar, and it's honestly not looking good for Anissa. But the most damning evidence for how the inbred comment was a dig at Ethan is that I looked up the relations between Jewish people and inbred, and that's how I found out that apparently there is a racial stereotype that is based on how certain groups of Jews are inbred, when the reality is that they are only closely related due to being persecuted and genetic bottlenecks. Girl, if you just wanted to be a racist, go for it. We all know you're the one who made Idubbbz call Tana the hard R. The main benefit of the doubt to this is that she doesn't know that this is a racial stereotype against Jewish people. But it's really hard when you realize that she's a really big fan of Hassan, and you realize that Hassan has referred to Jewish people as inbred multiple times, I might add.
That's why I always personally bring up the West Bank. Because the way that the Israeli occupying force and the Israeli government has conducted itself in the West Bank is something that even Americans can understand as unconscionable, because it is literally the Jewish KKK brigades out there, just a bunch of fucking inbred hicks. The ultra-Orthodox Jews leaving Israel, fucking hilarious, okay? If they serve in the military and then they get their fucking untrained inbred asses shipped into southern Lebanon, Again, very funny. Because it will inevitably turn Israel into a nation entirely comprised of messianic, inbred, ultra-Orthodox psychopaths with a nuclear arsenal.
Not gonna lie, that is kind of elite baller racism knowledge. I never knew that Jews being inbred was a racial stereotype until Anissa and Hassan brought it up. And I've been around the block, okay? Believe me, I know a thing or two about racism. I've seen my fair share of IG reels. I know what it's like when people are racist. And I've never heard of Jews being inbred till now, okay? You guys think that if Ethan was black, Anissa would have tweeted out stuff like fried chicken? Watermelon? can't swim, fatherless, 1350, bullet bag? I could go on and on, but it's crazy how Anisa, who is supposedly super empathetic and progressive, decided to basically tweet out a racial stereotype just because of her internet beef. Okay, Anisa, just because you're 50% Arab according to Idubbbz, that doesn't mean you're allowed to spread racial stereotypes.
Anisa is half Lebanese and half Irish.
But unsurprisingly, her being 50% Arab is also another lie. According to Anisa herself, she is actually only 8% Arabic. So I don't even know how you get 50 from 8. Well guys, if you really think about it, 8 sort of rounds up to 16. And since we're already at 16%, we might as well take that to a 32%. And 32 is like more than halfway to 50. So we might as well just take it up to an even 50, okay? For comparison, Keemstar is 9% African. I just think it's really funny how Anisa is less ethnic than Keemstar. Yes, you heard me right. Keemstar is more ethnically diverse than Anisa is. If Anisa is 50% Arab, then Keemstar can definitely say the word. That's all I'm going to say on that. Anisa was possessed by her Arab ancestors when she defended Joseph Mengele and implied Jews were inbred during Ethan's debate against Hassan. She unlocked her Arab avatar state and went full sicko mode. As if spreading negative Zionist stereotypes wasn't enough, she can also add pedophile defender to that list. You guys remember Lion Maker, the OG Minecraft pedo? Well, Anisa does. Quite fondly, as a matter of fact. Apparently, people were hating on Lion Maker too hard, even though he eventually ended up in a jail for pedophilia.
I don't like when people go in and rip a content creator apart like that, no matter what like really happens. It gives me anxiety. Like, even if it is like I'm no matter like how serious it is, right? Like, even when Lion Maker, whatever his name was accused of pedophilia, like, it gave me a lot of anxiety because I feel like a lot of it is based on a lot of fiction and not a lot of fact. And like, if the person really isn't as bad as what people think it is, which most of the time they're not, then you're just watching people rip apart somebody that maybe doesn't deserve it as much as, like, I don't know. It's just sad seeing somebody get ripped apart that hard. Yeah, Leafy was one of them that was hard to watch getting ripped apart. YouTube videos are okay, let me put it this way. YouTube videos are never sincere.
Well, Lion Maker went to jail for pedophilia. I urge everyone to check out Colossal's Crazy's interview with Lion Maker. It's surreal.
Yeah, I mean, and he went to jail, and he deserved to go to jail, like, which is whatever. But I mean, I'm just trying to use the example of like when it was before he got prosecuted and whatever. People ripping him apart, like, we didn't know.
At least Anisa started to recognize her mistake, but come on. You shouldn't get to that point in the first place, especially with the power of hindsight. Even pre-court trial, the sins of Lion Maker were extensively documented. This is just like if I decide to defend EDP. Yeah, I feel like people were hating on EDP too hard, man. Okay, he was caught in a sting operation, but come on. People were hating too hard on him before, man. Even now, she is still trying to shit stir by dragging up an old comment that Ethan made defending you and Ian, reigniting her feud with him. Oh gee, I wonder what could have changed his stance. Do you think it had something to do with the content cop, or the fact that you were palling around with people who had a vested interest in seeing Ethan fall, while refusing to even say that false CPS calls are bad? And then when Ethan gives a list of reasons of why he doesn't like you anymore, you try and blow out the weaker arguments he has, conveniently ignoring the rest of the arguments he lays out, like your snide remarks and scolding people for supporting Ethan. If you truly were concerned about Ethan's well-being, why would you make jabs towards Ethan on Twitter or get mad when people support him? Also, it's real interesting that you talk about being eternally harassed despite the fact that Ethan never mentioned this at all, or the fact that you never showed any proof whatsoever. As a matter of fact, when someone asks for proof that Ethan harasses a woman, because that is quite the heavy-handed accusation, she immediately tries to blame the person asking the question by saying they're the proof that Ethan is harassing her. How is this harassment? You're acting like this person told Casey Tron to kill themselves or something. All they wanted was a couple screenshots showing Ethan engaging in harassment. Maybe even a video clip or two. But no, questioning the narrative is harassment from Ethan. Actually it's your fault women are being harassed by you asking Casey Tron to back up her statement. I'm Anisa Jomha. I don't need to prove anything to you. Alt-right pipelining incels. Anisa and accountability go hand in hand like oil and water. This is the exact level of entitlement and self-centeredness that I was talking about. And of course, in true Anisa fashion, it wouldn't really be her if she didn't try and play the "oh, woe is me, I'm just a kawaii e-girl, ooh woo" shtick right after. Overplayed and boring. Interesting that she tries to act like she's above drama when she's too busy having meltdowns on commentary channels making videos on her. In particular, she was mad at this YouTuber called Boblax, whose video talking about the loss of profit on Creator Clash ended up getting lawyers investigating Anisa.
This person's lawyer, the Shakedown lawyer, used a commentary video, okay, that insinuated, I have to be very careful with my words here because this person will say technically they didn't say that, insinuated that we pocketed money.
Personally, I don't think Anisa and Ian pocketed any Creator Clash 2 money. They're far too retarded for that. They burnt all of that money trying to upscale the event. But you're acting surprised that people are investigating you once you got $250K in a hole for charity. What did you expect, especially after your $1 million+ profit on the first Creator Clash? She then goes into a rant about how commentary YouTubers have never worked a real job.
I know a lot of them have never worked a real job. I know that for a fact. And if you have, you worked there for a week and you cried and you quit.
Oh, my bad, Anisa. Maybe I should get a job like OnlyFans and helicopter my dick out for people to see. She then channels her inner crime family energy and talks about how she made someone cry after shit-talking her.
You fuckers that are looking at this right now, I know that you would fucking cry if I said something to you in real life. I know you would cry. How do I know? Because I've done it to one of you fuckers in real life and you have cried. You cried and apologized to me. And you even said that I made you feel like a bitch. And I'm glad that I did, to be honest.
Let me guess what happened right after. Everybody clapped, and then Albert Einstein gave you a Nobel Peace Prize. It's funny how she talks shit like this and then cry bullies when people talk shit back to her. You pull that shit with me and I'm NFing you. And I ain't talking about no rapper. In fact, why don't you ask Idubbbz what that means? I'm sure he's a real NFer. The last thing I will say is that your tattoos suck, Anisa. It looks like a bunch of 5-year-olds that a drive-by scribble on you. Ian should have made his content cop on your tattoo artists instead. I know I was going to talk about the boxing coach interview, but I just wanted to cover Creator Clash 3 being cancelled. Obviously, the event has been completely gutted. Who would have guessed? Big shocker, I know. But Anisa has some rather interesting responses to it. She first says how she made the best out of her situation and how they were grateful for the $225K donated. What do you mean you made the best of your situation? You had practically zero promo for your event. Half your fight roster had no idea what was going on. And the other half of your fight roster was scared off due to your Ethan beef. I'm pretty sure most of the fighters had zero direction of what to do the whole time. Anisa also claims that the content cop didn't affect ticket sales, but let's be for real. Do you think that making a very polarizing video on a controversial figure was going to help with sales? Especially after tying your charity event to a geopolitical event halfway across the world. Even if we take your statement at face value, do you really think making that video on Ethan before Creator Clash 3 started helped it at all? As for the $225K, I'm glad you made good money, which I do hope is going to charity, with none of that 34% nonsense for yourselves. But notice how in this Creator Clash and the last one, how none of the actual events made any money? They both had to be bailed out by external factors, like Ian humiliating himself or Hassan's charity handout. Notice how in both cases, the actual Creator Clash event didn't help raise money for kids with cancer. As a matter of fact, it did the exact opposite. Creator Clash is literally helping cancer out. In all honesty though, I personally wouldn't have been too mad about the 34% cut if they were upfront about it from the get-go. But enough about Creator Clash 3 failing. On to the main topic. So a while back, Ian and Anisa's old boxing coach decided to go on H3H3's podcast to spill the tea with his wife. And there's a ton of stuff that they levy against Ian and Anisa by extension. There's so much stuff that I am simply unable to cover it all, or else we would be here forever. If you don't believe me, here's a spark-noted version of the podcast here. Feel free to pause and read. What I will do is cover some of the more juicier moments in the interview. But I fear even then I won't be able to get to everything. My overall thoughts about the interview was that while I agree with what they say and don't think they're lying, at the same time, it sounds like everything that I want to hear, which is a bit too convenient in my opinion, if that makes any sense. However, it is very hard to say that they are lying, especially when I've just had a segment covering how Anisa has been very deceptive for the last couple of years. I also believe that these events are mostly, if not all, true, for the simple reason that when Ian heard that his old boxing coach was going to go on the H3H3 podcast, he spam texted them trying to smooth any past problems in DMs. So I'm guessing that Ian and Anisa definitely did some stuff that would be a problem if it got publicly revealed. That and the fact that they didn't even try and say anything about it publicly. Because we all know full well that they would have called it out otherwise if they thought that they could weasel their way out of it. While Ian and Anisa may have not said anything in response, other people have. Mainly this individual called Millhouse, who had something interesting to say. So for a bit of context, in the interview with H3, there's no other way to say this, so I'm just going to nuclear front load it. Kate, aka Michael's wife, reveals that she was a child bride when she was 12 years old and how she overcame that challenge in her life. And honestly, good for her. I wish her the best, and I mean that sincerely. On an unrelated note, I also believe that if you put your child up to be married away, you should be on a sex offender registry. However, Millhouse here has something to say about Kate being a child bride. As a matter of fact, he believes that she went from child bride to adult piece of shit. Her crime? Not liking Ian and Anisa and saying all of this stuff on the H3 podcast.
An adult bitch? Sorry about that. Ooh, sorry about that. That was fucked up. Sorry about that. But you went from child bride to adult piece of shit. So fuck you and your story. Let's listen to...
Holy fucking shit. How size-cocked must you be to crash out at Ethan so hard that you end up saying how a child bride is a piece of shit for not liking Ian and Anisa? Bro really said, well, you were groomed, so opinion disregarded. Weepy rape victims have no room to speak. What a pathetic fucking statement, but I expect no less from a Hassan orbiter. These creatures are not right in the head and would do anything to defend their God Emperor streamer. If you don't like Ethan, whatever. But to crash out so hard against him that you end up shit-talking a child bride is just a whole new level of low. If you thought this person was the only one who shit on a child bride because they didn't like Anisa and Ian, you'd be wrong. Tard number 2 here decides to drop in and say that she's a piece of shit. They also start mentioning Destiny out of nowhere despite nobody mentioning him ever in this drama. Destiny! Typical Hassan orbiter, Destiny on the brain. But what do you expect from a fanbase insecure from the fact that Daddy Hassan came up from Destiny's nutsack? How is Kate a piece of shit here exactly, though? For laughing at Ian? Did you not listen to the podcast and how shitty Ian and Anisa were to Michael and Kate? Just look at this list and pick a random point. Ian and Anisa suck, and I don't feel bad that Kate laughed a little when Ian said he cried.
Did you say he cried?
We had to have a meeting.
So after that, he was crying at the gym.
Especially after he said that sending skulls to Ethan's house was funny.
Especially when I heard that they were like from skulls.com or some shit like that. That made it funny.
Yeah.
Well, Ian, hearing about how you cried during your Critter Clash boxing training made it funny. Again, if you don't like Ethan and you have your own little beef with him, that's whatever, but we don't need to shit on the child bride in order to get our Ethan hate boner through. Especially in order to defend Ian and Anisa. Would it be too toxic if I said that these freaks should be gameplay queued IRL or no? Because I'm honestly starting to lose it at this point. For a little bonus info on this individual, this person apparently got counterdoxed by Dan after they attempted to dox him first. So I can't really say that I feel too bad for him considering how he opened up Pandora's box for doxing. Something, don't throw stones in glass houses. It is disturbing how this H3 drama keeps escalating, but at this point I'm not really surprised. These people are in the trenches. Apparently, this individual that's been harassing Ethan is a 37-year-old man. Jesus, imagine being this old and still worshipping Hassan. You're 25 years old too late for that, buddy. Also, Jesus Christ, that's a lot of tweets. Apparently, this guy tweets 30 to 40 times a day about how Ethan sucks, so basically just another terminally online user having a normal one. After this dude got counter-doxed, he privated, then unprivated, and finally he had a woe is me tweet where he tries to blame Ethan for the dox, even though he only got doxed after trying to dox someone else. But the interesting thing here is how, in an attempt to shift the heat off him, He revealed that he was taking care of his father, who was chronically ill at the time. Wait, so you had a dying dad and you've still been posting 24/7 about Ethan? Weird flex, but okay. I respect that you took care of your father in his last moments, but personally, I would lay off social media to take care of my dying dad, but that's just me. Also, it's funny how you want us to feel bad about how you took care of your dying father when you spread lies about how Asmongold killed his mom multiple times, which is just blatantly untrue. Ironic how you want us to feel bad for you after you play the "I have a sick parent" card, when you have no issues weaponizing other people's deaths. They even doubled down on their claim while conveniently showing no proof whatsoever. Dude, I can't believe your dad died because you spent all your time on Twitter and neglected him. Truly unhinged stuff from a dad killer. But I've been sidetracked for far too long, so I'ma just move on to the actual interview. Again, due to the sheer amount of stuff, I'm not going to be able to cover everything. If you really want to see everything, go watch the original interview. While they reveal basic stuff like how Creator Clash 2 overspent on galas and parties, nothing new there, they also revealed that apparently Creator Clash 2 is going to be 500k in the hole.
Anisa already told us, she shared with us prior to CC2, like a month before, that they were negative, was it 500k already?
Yeah, at the time.
Whoa, hold on.
Yeah, that's important.
Say that again.
They were negative 500k before the event.
So you're telling me that 250k loss was originally going to be double that? That's insane. How badly do you have to fuck up charity to lose hundreds of thousands of dollars? How are you already in a hole for money and you haven't even started working on the event yet? Especially after the success of the first Creator Clash, which raised over $1 million. Just do what you did for the first Creator Clash. I don't see why you guys had to complicate things. You guys didn't need all this extra fancy smancy parties and galas. Also, during Creator Clash 2, when Froggy Fresh got canned, Gideon was going to give 100k to Creator Clash if they brought him back. So you're telling me that even if Creator Clash took the money, they still would have lost money? Yeah, Ian and Nissa are idiots who should have never been allowed to have another crack at Creator Clash. You guys deserve that investigation. How did they even manage to retain a shred of dignity? Is it just tribalism since Ian and Nissa were cozying up to Hassan and co? Also, to add insult to injury, they tried to hide the gala from Michael for as long as possible so that he wouldn't question how this affects the profits for Creator Clash. So that's nice.
Excluding you guys.
I know why. I honestly believe that the reason why Ian and Nisa excluded us and did not want us to know about the gala is because we're both very professional, we're both very direct, and very transparent. If they told us that they were going to throw a huge gala after the fight and it was going to cost a ton of money, we would have asked them, why are you doing this?
You know you are most definitely in the right when you have to try and hide stuff from other people. Ian was also, unsurprisingly, a horrid trainee. Like how he barely trained despite the fact that he was boxing for Creator Clash at the time. So I don't even know why he went through the effort of getting a coach if he wasn't going to do shit.
It was very hard to get Ian to train because he doesn't like boxing. He doesn't like boxing.
Well, that seems to be somewhat of a
problem,
a sticking point.
Yeah. Just seems like a waste of everyone's time. They even asked him to show up once or twice a week after he abandoned them for months, only to not even do that simple task.
So then to be into something like that your heart's not into, that's why I didn't see him once the first event ended. We didn't see him again for several months. And I told him, hey, come in once or twice a week, train for fun, make it fun for yourself. Because when you're in a fight camp, it's not really fun. You just have to keep training.
Right.
But then he never came back. And then so I was like, oh, wow, he really doesn't like boxing.
Yeah, I wonder how you got the shit beaten out of you twice in both Creator Clashes. He would also disregard what the coaches would say multiple times, like how he didn't want to do cardio and would blow off training, which is why he lost at Creator Clash 2, and Creator Clash 1 of course. The reason being, I shit you not, because Ian and Nissa wanted to buy a new house.
So for the first event, he didn't do any of his cardio, so that's why he ended up gassing out so bad. And I truthfully believe if he would have just done his freaking cardio, that he would have won that fight. But they couldn't do the cardio because 10 weeks before the first event, Anisa wanted them to buy a house. So instead of doing 2 training sessions a day at that point, they had to cut out training to go look to buy a house. And he moved into his new house the week before we left to Florida. So he literally wasn't training like he was supposed to for that whole first event because they wanted to go buy a house when they could have just rented a place for 6 months or a year. And then Ian could have focused on the fight, had the fight, and then found a new place.
Honestly, I can't say I'm really surprised at this point considering how much he hated boxing. I would not be surprised if him and Anissa coordinated that house buy so that he wouldn't have to train as much. Ian would also badmouth his coach behind his back for having toxic masculine qualities, simply because he actually wanted Ian to train well.
There's just like a lot of things that I've had to learn along the way. Like my coach is a tough ass guy. You know, he's got a little of the toxic male qualities, and it's made it hard sometimes because, you know, the way he talks to me sometimes, I could be a little bit sensitive to it. So that's like led to a couple times where I've just like kind of broke down.
He said, "Oh, my coach is he's really tough. He has toxic masculine qualities."
Wait, when did he say that?
He said that when he was talking to
when he did the podcast
with the Smosh guy.
Yeah.
So he did that, and he
You
said,
know what?
"Oh my."
He's lost his mind. I'm sorry, but if anybody deserves to have toxic masculine traits, it's your boxing coach, okay?
Dude, what did you expect? He's your coach. He's supposed to push you so that you can actually win your boxing fights. Also, he's a boxing coach. What did you expect from a sport where you have to legally beat the shit out of your opponent? Hugs and rainbows? To compound Ian's poor behavior during Critter Clash, Anisa didn't want to feel left out, so she joined in on the fun, too. Like how she demanded that they train her too for free, which they did because they thought that they were helping out for charity, which we now know is obviously not the case.
Yeah, so it was hard for me as a coach to just get him to train. Also, like half of the sessions, we'd have to train Anisa. So every session, instead of being just training for Ian for a fight, I would have to take half of the session and train Anisa.
So whose idea was that?
Hers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, from there, it only snowballed into a shitfest. Anisa would unsurprisingly keep lying, like how she somehow turned a simple headache into 11 concussions.
And so she had a sparring session and she was just trying to walk forward, and then a girl punched her. And then I was actually watching Ian, so I wasn't even watching. I just heard a big pop. And then I looked over and she was kind of frozen. And then she said she had a concussion. Then the next day she went and told the doctor that she had a headache and sensitivity to light and pretty much all the concussion
The whole
symptoms.
entire list, like,
And
it
then-
went on forever.
And then so we were like, oh no, she has a concussion. And then
Yeah.
Ian's like, well, she's kind of a hypochondriac.
Yeah.
So we're like, oh,
actually,
okay.
Ian actually reassured me because I was worried at that
She's
time.
not gonna like hearing that.
Yeah, I tried to I tried to check on her, and he reassured me. He was like, "Hey, don't worry about her. She's actually a hypochondria, and she does this often where she self-diagnoses herself and freaks out.
She is not gonna
So
like that.
that's like, don't worry about it. She'll be fine." And I was like, okay, then why is she continuously talking about it on all her media outlets?
The thing that drove me crazy
Is that why
was
she said she couldn't box because she had a cut? Like, do you remember what it was?
She was
was
an
fine.
athlete in high school, and she had previous concussions, if I remember correctly,
Okay.
or something where the doctor told her it's too big of a risk.
Well, definitely don't box then.
Also, the doctor's going to tell you what you tell them. If I come in and I say I have sensitivity to light and have headaches, they're going to say you have a concussion,
Yeah.
right? So, and then the part of the story that drove me crazy was how all of a sudden she went from saying she had this concussion to she's had all these concussions while she was training. And then by the time she was on like your guys' show and these other shows, she's like, I've had 11 minors and 2 majors. And I'm like, I've been around concussions my whole life. And nobody's like, that was a minor, that was a major, you know? And so I was like, well, if you had 2 majors, that would mean you were like completely unconscious. And she said she got them from like lacrosse and hockey. So I'm like, you're telling me that you got knocked out completely unconscious on the field, and then a few weeks later, they're like, put her back on the field. I'm like, that makes 0 sense to me.
She's a liar. I mean, she does
100%.
lie. She lies about everything, it seems like.
Yes.
Yeah.
Worst case of single player telephone I've ever seen. Glad to know that you still haven't changed after all of these years. Even Ian admits himself that this is a hypochondriac, so... Her main character syndrome also, unsurprisingly, flared up in full effect. A prime example being how after some random coach said that women shouldn't fight, this proceeded to activate Anisa's MK Ultra sleeper agent, and she made Ian fight the coach in order to save her honor despite the fact that they didn't even have proper gear at this time. To no one's surprise, Ian lost. Badly. But what can you expect from his poor boxing record?
So we go to Alex Grant's gym, and the coach of the head guy of the gym, the owner, says that he doesn't believe women should fight. So Anisa gets really upset and
Who said
decides
that?
she wants to. The owner of the gym said that.
The owner of Alex Grant.
Okay. So Anisa got so offended that she said, Ian needs to spar now today. And we're like, what? And then so,
She
and
sent
I'm like,
her man to get slaughtered by Alex Ernst, who's like some kind of like boxing savant or something. He fucking annihilated him, dude.
Yeah.
So what happened was Well, it was funny because Alex has really thick glasses. So he took his glasses off and he can't see anything. So he just starts swinging haymakers.
Oh, he couldn't even see.
Oh no, but Ian like froze.
Oh
And
wait,
so-
and also before the filming, so before they did the sparring, Anisa and Ian runs up to me and they're like, Kate, make sure you film this because we want to put on our YouTube channel in the documentary, how does 3 week of training look like and 3 months of training look like? Because Ian at that time had been training for 3 months with us.
Also, why'd you make Ian fight for you? You're the person who had the issue with the coach. Why don't you fight him instead? You could have convinced him that woman can box was a solid jab. Guess she didn't want to get haymakered by a blind dude. But no, leave Ian to take the blame for you. I'm starting to see why people called you Yoko Ono. Anisa, in another act of self-centeredness, also forced the entire gym to listen to her preferred bands through their speakers, forcing everyone to listen to her music.
I can guarantee you, AB's coach would not have allowed Anisa to come into the gym with her attitude or want to change the music at the gym.
Oh,
And
tell
all
me
these other
that.
things.
One time she came and tried to put on her own music, right?
Yeah, and then we got into it because
They got into a tiff because she wanted to change the music. Go ahead, please. Yeah.
Yeah. So
what song was it?
Oh man, I would have to look it back up because I was actually in shock because some of the songs, even if you like that kind of music, because it was maybe some like indie punk rock music.
It was dark.
But what was just weird, and so not gym music at all. So I was just like, hey, I was trying to tell her that because one of the other coaches was like, hey, I'm gonna change it now because she was playing the music
After
at the
1
gym.
hour.
But she shouldn't have even been on the aux in the first place. Like you shouldn't be at somebody else's gym and then hop on their speaker. That's crazy to me. So she hopped on the speaker and then one of the coaches was like, hey, I'm gonna take you off now. And she was like, oh, like offended by it.
Why she would do that and not just play music through AirPods or something similar is beyond me. I get it. I know sometimes the music in the public gym speakers are low-key ass cheeks. That's why I listen to my own stuff. But maybe I'm just too much of a lowly serf to understand the plight of content gods and goddesses. My brain isn't playing 4D chess. I wish I was entitled enough to play my own music over gym speakers and then get mad when people change it. The whole time she was training, you knew full well that she was thinking, oh god, why do I have to deal with these peasants? They are so beneath me. I'll just use them until they're no longer useful and drop them. You can see this firsthand when Anisa and Ian don't even invite them to the Career Clash 2 gala until the very last minute. As a result, when they finally managed to join last minute, they came unprepared and underdressed.
We found out it was a red carpet event that they flew Getty Images in for. So they straight up flew Getty Images to take pictures for the event. But
Yeah, they're the only. Go ahead, sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say when we asked them about it, and I said, hey, is there a gala? And they said, oh, you guys don't even worry about it. You don't have to go to that. And I said, what? This is what Anisa said. And I said, what? And I said, well, some of the sparring partners got invited. And she said, I don't know how they got on that list. They weren't supposed to be on the list. And in my mind, I'm like, Ian had invited them. He sent them the email personally.
What
right?
a disgusting human being she seems to be. I'm sorry.
Oh, she didn't want any of us there. She only wanted like creators there or people that would, I guess, make her feel like she could get more clout. So she told us we didn't have to come to the event. She doesn't know why we would want to be at the event. And I said, what's the event for? Yeah. And she said, and it's an award show. And I said, what are the awards for? And she said, they're awards for the boxing. And I said, why wouldn't his coach want to be there? Why wouldn't his team want to be there? I was like, that makes no sense. So everybody else, all the other coaches I talked to, I said, hey, did you guys know about the gala? They said, yeah. I said, did you bring a suit for it? And all of them had freaking like 3-piece suits with like kerchiefs and everything. I had sweatpants.
Yeah, you know the very important people who helped us train for a major event? They can go fuck themselves. I can see why Ian and Anisa didn't want this interview to leak out. I think the cherry on top, though, was that Anisa decided, for whatever reason, to get her fake breasts removed midway through Creator Clash, while they were training. Again, don't know why she couldn't wait until at least the event was over. And as a result, Ian also had to take a month off to support his darling wife.
He was supposed to start training for his fight camp, right? But then they didn't come and train. And then she decided that she was going to have her tits removed, like, during his fight camp.
Oh, that was the second one. That was
yeah, I said 62.
Oh, yeah.
So hold on. Yeah, I remember, by the way, a long time ago, they came out to hang out with me and Hila. And, you know, I find it interesting that she always seemed to have always hated me, despite, you know. pretending to be my friend for a long time.
Everyone.
But she came over, and we were hanging out, and she just was like, "So I'm getting fake boobs," and I was like, "Okay, great, good for you." What? Why? I guess. What was she saying, that it was uncomfortable or something?
I mean, it probably hurt her back.
I mean,
What are you doing?
She told me that.
I do that in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, she always blames it on everybody. She blames it on her doctor. She told me personally that she wasn't too sure about it, and then her doctor told her to go too big, and now she's not happy, and she's gonna get it taken out. But it's like, out of all the times that you could have done it after CC1,
So you're saying
yeah.
you're saying she did it during training camp?
Yes.
Yes. Before the second fight, and he had missed literally between May to November was when she got that done, and so he was supposed to train during November, but he took all of November off because she couldn't come to the gym. But originally
he took the whole month off because of the procedure to.
Yes.
Oh wow.
Well, this is how you know he doesn't like boxing, because they said he was going to come into the gym when she couldn't be there. But then when she couldn't come in, he never came in.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that was his thing where he
made a comment recently where he's like, when Anisa's not with me, I don't know what to say. And I'm
Which
like,
is
dude,
crazy.
what happened to you? Who are you?
Well, she tells him when he's hungry, when he's tired. How's he going to know
That's
those
why
things?
he's definitely in a gimp outfit at home.
So not only was Anisa not training for Critter Clash, even though she never actually participated in there, Ian also wasn't training because he just had to be there for his wife's fake boobs over charity. Not surprised though, considering how he couldn't even show up to Max Mofo's wedding because Anisa needed a tattoo. Joji managed to show up to Max's wedding and he was on tour. What's your excuse? Honestly, considering how neurotic they are, I'm not surprised at all to learn that during the Froggy Fresh drama, they decided to obsessively view all the hate videos made on them.
When the whole Froggy Fresh thing happened, right? They were actually at our home because one of our mutual friend, David Benavides, who's a pro boxer, he was fighting that night. And Ian had met David Benavides through one of the YouTube podcast events that we were doing, and at the gym, at the Benavides gym here in Washington. And so Michael and I paid out of our own pocket to get pay-per-view. We invited Ian and Anisa over to watch the fight of David Benavides. And because the Froggy Fresh drama went down, they spent the whole time in my bedroom on Twitter reading all the comments. And it was the craziest thing ever. And that's when I was like, damn it. Damn, because look at them. They were reading it and Ian was like, oh, Tiffany 465 says this. I think that's a great comment. And then Anisa's like, what about this comment? And it was the craziest.
They're kind of like people that stuck up for him and didn't stick up for him. And meanwhile, I'm like, hey Ian, the guy that you just met is fighting in a world championship fight. Let's watch this fight.
Your friend?
But he couldn't even watch the fight because they were so caught up in like the Twitter comments.
Imagine being so parasocial with your haters that you obsessively monitor them while charity for kids with cancer is ongoing. No, you don't understand. I need to know what the heckin' peasants are saying about us. Hey, Anisa and Ian, if you're somehow seeing this video, fuck you. Overall, though, while Anisa is pretty stinky, Ian is too, and I mean that physically as well. Apparently, Ian literally stinks and has no idea how to take care of himself. According to Michael, Ian would refuse to exercise basic hygiene at the gym, and as a result, he stunk up the gym so bad that Michael had to step him aside and move him to a secluded area away from other people.
Now, do you have any commentary about his potential body odor?
I mean, I say it's true. I smell all the time. It's horrible. A good example is this, because Michael's so nice, so he doesn't want to say it. But here's the thing. When we're in fight camp, he does 2 hours in the morning and 2 hours in the evening, okay?
For the first fight he did. Well, for the first part of the first fight, not for the actual camp.
Correct.
During the camp was when he cut out his 2 days. And that was the most important time to be doing 2 days.
Yes. So he would smell so bad that when he comes back in the afternoon to train, he doesn't shower in between his sessions. And so like the coaches that are training other, members there would just like look at us with the weirdest face, like a stink face. And then Michael would try to take Ian to the corner where there's not a lot of members of the gym so they don't have to smell it.
I try to take him to the open doorway.
Yeah, so that does happen. I'm not lying. It's true. He doesn't shower.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just didn't understand why she wouldn't tell him. I'm like, what is going on here?
She tells the audience. She humiliates him
in her Discord.
Yeah.
She's fine releasing everything, but she won't talk to him about it. I'm just like, what the hell?
We got Asmongold Jr. over here. Damn, I knew Anisa was 50% Arab, but I had no idea that you, Ian, my friend, you are 50% Indian. But on a more serious note, how do you not recognize that you smell so bad? Is it just apathy? It obviously appears to be a site-wide issue if everyone is noticing that you smell. Just shower, man. If you thought that's all, well, that's just the tip of the deodorant stick. It was also revealed that Ian had bad breath from tonsil stones, and when questioned about it, he claimed it was from strep throat. There's only one slight problem with this claim. While there is a small chance that tonsil stones can result from strep throat, the primary and most common cause of tonsil stones is bad hygiene, which means that Ian essentially just outed himself as not brushing his teeth, especially after he expressed surprise to Michael when he found out how tonsil stones are caused by bad mouth hygiene.
It's alleged by Anisa herself that Ian has both bad breath and he shits in his pants frequently. Do you have any data on that, having been in close proximity with him?
No.
Ian.
I don't want to just talk shit about him, but like there would be times, for example, before the first event, where he was talking about getting tonsil stones.
Yeah.
And he was saying he was going to get strep throat because he had tonsil stones.
Ew.
And I said, Ian, tonsil stones don't cause strep throat. Tonsil stones are because you're not brushing your fucking teeth. And so he was like, oh, okay, hygiene. And I'm like, yeah, fool, like you need to brush your teeth and use like...
Wait, hold on. That shouldn't be something you need to hear from your boxing coach. Brush your teeth.
I can't believe that a boxing coach is giving Ian dental hygiene advice. Anissa's claim that Ian did have strep throat and sending that picture was also really weird.
Anisa sent us, it was the day of training for one of the CC1 or 2, I can't remember which one. And she sent us a photo of his tongue. And she said, oh, I think he might have like bad breath and it's causing...
No, tonsil. She said tonsil stones.
Hold on. Go back. Why did she send you a picture of his tongue?
They thought it would show us that he was going to get strep throat.
Yeah, so he couldn't come.
And I'm like, because they were trying to say he's going to get sick before the event. And it can happen if you train too hard before an event. You run your immune system down so then you can get sick. But we weren't training too hard for him to get sick.
Yeah.
It just comes across as her trying to run damage control, like how after she outed Ian as having shit pant, she tried saying that was fancy Gen Z slang, actually. While you can overtrain and weaken your immune system, Ian did not train nearly hard enough for this to happen. So the strep theory from overwork is out the window. Also, it's not even the first time that Ian's bad breath was seen in action. In a previous livestream was Anisa and her husband. When Anisa got in close to Ian, she got a whiff of that breath and instantly recoiled.
Fiona. See. Oh, fuck. Oh my god. What the hell?
I need to drown that out with some more mango.
Oh my god. What was that?
Anissa got sent to the gas chambers. Let me guess, Ian had strep here. I'm starting to notice a recurring pattern of repeated bad behavior that stretches out for Ian and Anissa too. The worst thing that Ian and Anissa have done during the whole Creator Clash boxing coach drama though is yet to come. Remember earlier when I was talking about Millhouse and how he was making fun of Kate for being a child bride? While Ian and Anissa weren't as ballsy, they might as well have mocked Kate, because what they did is probably just as bad, if not worse. So for some additional context, like I said before, Kate was a child bride who at the age of 12 was put into marriage and had 2 kids as a result of said marriage. To make a long story short, luckily Kate managed to turn her life around and ever since then has been lobbying to stop child marriage. Unluckily for her, when she brought this up to Ian and Anissa to ask if they could help out with said lobbying to get an anti-child marriage bill passed by simply promoting it because they were, training Ian and Anissa, who were running a charity at the time, and the motif of saving children would really line up with Creator Clash's goals. And they just left her on red.
When we were chatting a bit before the show, I brought up your work thinking on some really interesting activism where you were...
Yes,
this is not interesting. It's really shocking and sad that you yourself were a child bride.
Yes. So I'm a child bride survivor, and at the age of 12, I was put into a child marriage from the time I was 12 until 23. Within my child marriage, I had 2 kids when I was 15 and 17. And this happened in America, okay? And Ian and Anisa are well aware of my story because I've had them at my home. They've seen my kids and everything. And so last year, right, 2024, I learned that there was a House bill in Washington State trying to pass House Bill 1455 to end child marriage. And so when I learned of this bill, I thought to myself, even though it had been 15 years since I escaped my prison, like, this is a chance for me to come forward and tell my story. I sent, so Michael and I went to Olympia in Washington. We met with politicians. We lobbied to support the bill. I gave my public testimony to support the bill. And, I was on Seattle Times and television and everything. And I reached out to Ian and Anisa and I asked them if they could help, share the information, because it was really important to me that this bill passed. And they just both left me on red. But guess what? Today, when they saw the highlights on Ian's story that we were going to be on here, Anisa was texting me and Michael, and they were like,
they ignored us when we were like trying to fight child marriage. But then when they found out,
are they pro child marriage?
They take a hard
That's why it makes one. You begs the question.
Wow, I can't believe that Mr. and Mrs. Empathy would ignore a law to ban child marriage. That is just bleak. I am genuinely stun-locked. How are you going to run a charity that revolves around saving kids with cancer and not save additional kids from being married off? Then when Kate and Michael obviously are hella pissed and want to talk about this publicly, then you and Anisa try and run damage control. Too little, too late. I highly recommend that you at least watch the Child Bride segment for their interview, as I would never be able to give this segment the proper justice that it deserves. Kate managed to run it back and prosper despite the massive hurdle set in front of her. Again, if you put your kids to be married off, you deserve to be put on a sex offender registry, and that's the nicest thing I'll say to you. She also reveals that her husband at the time, so not Mike, would routinely make fraudulent CPS calls towards her after she managed to escape, which explains why Kate and Michael are so sympathetic towards Ethan and Hila, since they've all had to deal with fraudulent CPS calls. My personal schizo theory as to why Ian and Anisa left Kate on red when she was talking about the bill to outlaw child marriage was that they thought it was only for Jewish children. We already know that Anisa isn't the biggest Jew fan, what with her defending Joseph Mengele in that inbred comment, but during her time training when she found out that Michael's mom was half Jewish, she started to distance herself away from him.
Because I can't say, she never specifically said she was anti-Semitic, but just, the way she
I will
acts.
say that, like, I didn't know about all this stuff that she has against Jewish people. And then once I heard about it, I realized that after I shared with Anisa that Michael's mom is half Jewish and half Italian, like, I noticed that she started, like, keeping him more at bay and not being nice to him.
I'm starting to think that this Anisa fella isn't anti-Zionist. She might just be anti-Semitic. This also applies to Ian since they basically share the same beliefs. Kinda hard not to notice a recurring pattern here. Unfortunately for us though, all good things must come to an end. And this whole Creator Clash boxing coach saga is no exception, so I'll wrap this up. One day, Ian and Anisa call Michael into a Denny's and came very close to firing him that day. But why would this happen? For some context, when Anisa initially made Ian box against Alex because he said women couldn't box, Ian was just getting beaten up left and right, which caused Michael to start yelling at him, asking him what he was doing, according to Ian, which apparently made Ian cry. That's how traumatizing it was to Ian. To make a long story short, the reason why Michael was almost fired was because he reminded Ian of his abusive father who would yell at him.
He was crying at the gym afterwards, and I said, and once again, I hate to hate on him for that because it's very emotional.
Yeah, for sure.
In some hard sparring, right? Yeah. So but then what happened afterwards was horrible because then we went back to the hotel and then they were eating at Denny's and they said, we need to have a meeting. So I have to go to Denny's. And they pretty much then talked about how they were going to have to fire me because I reminded Ian of his father when his father would yell at him as a kid. And so I had to relearn how to talk to him. And at the time, I didn't even mind because I'm like, as a coach, I need to learn how to talk to different fighters anyways. Like, communication is the most important thing. One of the most important things as a coach. So I was trying to turn it into a positive, but it definitely was. But you almost got fired at Denny's.
Yeah, exactly. After that sparring session. But
I almost farted at Denny's.
Yeah, I'm not surprised at all that Ian has daddy issues considering how he acts up all the time. Normally, it's the women who have daddy issues, and the men who have mommy issues. But Ian here wants to shake things up. Very progressive. Honestly, hearing how Ian had daddy issues growing up makes so much sense on how he's so sensitive and bitch-made when a boxing coach yells at him. Because I do believe at some points the boxing training got rough and his coach had to yell at him. I don't think Ian was lying about that. Do you think that Mike was just yelling at you for the fun of it? Or do you think it had something to do with you just getting beaten there and not doing anything to stop it? Alright, that's all the stuff I wanted to say about the boxing coach segment. But it's amazing how Anisa and Ian's past behavior of being terrible people and lying keeps happening here. Almost like it's a reoccurring issue. Again, I only cover a small portion of the interview. If you want to see more, feel free to view the original interview at your own leisure. Okay, so what did we learn about Ian and Anisa so far? Well, I learned that Ian and Anisa will say anything to try and get heat off their back. Like how they tried to blame Brandon for some random kid and Dean a gun from some random vendor, while calling him a pussy because he was actually okay with making OnlyFans jokes. We also learned that Anisa has a long history of lying and being manipulative, from her constantly changing stories nonstop to her need of being the center of attention, which persists even into the modern day. Look no further than how they are horrible trainees who have very little regard for their coach, like how they disrespect Michael throughout the entirety of their training arcs, and that Mr. and Mrs. Empathy don't give two shits about stopping child marriage. The whole Creator Clash 3 saga was also really interesting to see, like a 10-card pileup. Anisa and Ian learned nothing from the failures of Creator Clash 2, and for Creator Clash 3, decided to intertwine their feud with Ethan over a geopolitical conflict into their charity, causing tons of creators to drop out and the entire event to be scrapped. Even if what Anisa said is true about Creator Clash 3 not being affected by the content cop most certainly didn't help. The lack of promo also didn't, but that's a whole nother story. But again, that's also unsurprising considering how Anisa and Ian have ran the whole show so far. In conclusion, Anisa and Ian are just spiraling out, and it's honestly sad to see at this point. It's really funny how they palled around with Hassan because they thought that he was a more popular choice over their longtime friend, only to find out that Hassan isn't exactly that well liked outside of his fan base. But what can you expect from a known clout chaser and someone who's married to said clout chaser? You would have thought that they would have gotten their act together after all of these years, but nope. Amazing how that most of their current drama could have been avoided if they just said that fake CPS calls are bad. That's all I have to say. See ya.
Let's play.